Hey folks, we're trying something new here today. We're going to try to make something live. And so the project is going to be some spiders. I'm going to solder some spiders. Here's my little soldering setup. Let's get this thing all situated. All right, so what we're going to use here is some quarters and some steel wire. So here's my quarter. Actually, we're going to use a quarter and a dime. Then we have some regular steel wire. But you know what? I think we're going to use, we're going to use this. Now this wire comes from Home Depot or Lowe's. Costs about, I don't know, $10 for 100 feet, something like that. Here's one coil. I'm just going to cut that in half. Now we're going to get another coil. There we go. Now I'm going to put the camera up here by the side so that you guys can get a better view. Again, this is the first time I've done this, so I apologize for my amateurness. All right. So here we have our wire. We're going to use 4 pieces of it. We're going to trim it down in just a second. But first, we're going to get our main body together. Now, we could just solder these things together, just one on top of the other, or one next to the other, and just leave it just like that. But what I'd like to do is use this doming block. And this doming block I got from Harbor Freight. I think it was $40, something like that. So all it is a block that has these half spheres machined into them, and then you have a corresponding punch, right? And so you just want to make sure you have enough room around the punch so that the space of the material you're hammering out is taken into consideration. So I think I'm going to do tail side down. Now, when you're doing this, of course, make sure you have your safety glasses. You don't want to go blind over a little garage project. Also, the reason I'm hammering on an anvil is so that I don't lose so much bounce to my wooden desk here. Here's the progress we have so far. So there's that. See how it's domed out? We can do the same thing with the dime. All right. Okay, now let's get these things soldered together. Now what I'm going to do is use my file, and I'm just going to make a little flat edge. So we can get this thing. Just going to file it down just a little bit. There we go. Going to do the same thing with the quarter. Yikes. Got my fingernail there. That's what happens when you're watching the screen to make sure you're centered. Okay, so there's that. And now these two are going to fit together. Let's see, get it close. There we go. Fit together like that. So let's get these soldered. Now, in order to solder these, you're going to have to use some flux paste. And this is just something that came from the plumbing section at the Home Depot. So I'm just going to put that edge that I just filed down. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to cut a piece of my silver solder. Place that right in between. I'm going to get my torch. This is just a regular propane torch. You can see I have a camping cylinder on it. Now as I heat this up, I want to pay more attention to the quarter because it's a little bit bigger than the dime, and I don't want to oxidize the dime. Here's the solder starting to melt. There we go. Now I'm going to bring it up to the dime. And I used more than I needed. So I'm going to push a little bit around just with this file. That's good. Now while that's cooling off, I'm going to start to make the legs. So the spider's going to have a set of long legs and then a set of short legs. So for the one pair of legs, I'm just going to grab this piece of wire and bend it at 90 degrees. There we go. Looks kind of like a bird. Another set of legs, going to bend these at 90 degrees. And then for these ones, I'm going to bend them until they bottom out on the other side of the jaw. There we go. Now that's not sitting flat, so I'm going to bend it so that it does sit flat. That's going to be important for when the soldering action happens. Okay. That cool down enough? Still a little bit hot. So here's how this thing's going to be set up, right? We have our inner legs and our outer legs. Just need to make sure that the way we bent them is sitting right. These ones aren't very symmetrical, so I got to fix those. Pretty close. There we go. Now these legs match. Let's check our other legs. Those match too. Okay, now I'm going to solder these together. Well, of course, we need to use our flux. Just going to dip my wires in. That's looking pretty good. There we go. Same deal. A couple of pieces of solder. I'll use more than I need. Now all the solder is going to want to turn into one giant ball. So I'll just push it around with my little file here. And this one I'm just going to go right towards the center because that's where the bulk of the metal is. There it goes. I'm bringing the heat up on this side. I'm going to go to this side. Try to get the heat, oh goodness, to pull the solder over here. Now solder will flow where the heat's at. And so you want to use that to your advantage. That looks pretty good. Okay, now we're going to take our domed out body. We're going to solder that right onto here. I'm just going to use my finger. Okay, so now what would happen is if I heat this thing up, the solder is going to liquefy on the body of the spider, and then the coins might fall down on either side. So what I'm going to do is take another piece of wire and just cut 2 small pieces. So here's my 2 small pieces of wire. One piece is going to go underneath the bottom side, one's going to go underneath the top side, and that's just to be a support when this thing starts to melt. Center it all up. Okay. Let's make sure we're good. Yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's give it a try. Again, I'm just putting it all towards the middle. There we go. And I have the top. There we go. All right. Now we have to let it sit a little while. Since I'm impatient, I like to use a little bottle of water with a hole in the top. Now, people don't like seeing me do this because they say it weakens the joint, and it's probably true. But this is just a little decoration. So it's not going to play a major role in keeping it together. There we go, check that out. Okay, so now we need to finish putting in the bends into the spider. And all I'm going to do is take my pliers. I'm going to put it right into as far as it goes, right? And I'm just using the very edge. You guys see that? And I'm going to put a bend. And do that same thing for the other side. Put it in as far as it goes. Move a little further out so that it matches. Yes, this is lead-free solder. So let's look at this thing right here. You can see if the camera will focus. See it says lead-free. It's the same kind of solder that you would use in plumbing pipes. Now I'm going to get to the right after the joint, and I'm going to bend it again. Again, we're going to trim down this spider. Okay, so there's that. Same thing. I'm going to make this a little bit further down just to make those hind lengths bigger. Probably about a 1/4 inch. Same thing again. And we want this thing, if we were going to draw a straight line down the bottom or down the middle, we want it to be symmetrical. This one, when I pinch down on the pliers, I'm going to do it right at where this first joint matches up with the pliers. So bend that up. Same thing here. Same thing, right about that first joint. Looking kind of crazy so far. Okay, so we're getting someplace. Now we need to trim down all these legs. All right, let's snip this one off right here where it crosses. Just watch where the other end is flying. There we go. It's looking cool. Let's dress this one up a little bit here so it's more symmetrical. Now, if you're not careful, you can break the solder that you just, or the joints that you just soldered. There we go, that's looking good. All right, the only problem is now all these points are sharp. And so you can do one of two things. One is you can file it down, right? If you have a new file, that works out pretty easy. I don't want to bore you with going through each one, but that's what I would do. Now what I'm going to do is, I can either put a little ring right here, or maybe further up, or maybe I could solder a long line to make it look like a big part of a spider web. I think for now, though, I'm just going to paint it. So let's get set up for that. Gloss, no. There we go, flat. Now, of course, you want this to be as clean as possible so that the paint sticks to it. This is a little jewelry holder. I have a spoon in it right now. What I'm going to do is attach a magnet to it and then put my spider on it. There we go. And then that's what I'm going to use as a paint stand. Let's make this so that you can see it on the camera. Right now I'm covering up the laptop. I don't want to get any paint on that, of course. All right. I think it turned out decent. See if we can see. All right, folks. Thanks for checking me out on my first live stream. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. But in the meantime, stay tuned.